So not just a change of scenery today, a change of entire country. Here in London for the CVR event, more on that in a few days. But while I'm here and I have the bandwidth, I have some videos of interviews we did the other day at the Zwift headquarter, or the Zwift HQ tour of Australia and New Zealand. I'll do these videos in a two-part series. First up, part one, Troy Herfoss, Australian Superbike Champion from 2016. He's now taken up cycling and he's doing pretty well at it. So here's the interview with Troy with Matt Keenan in Sydney. The audio's not that great, but look, I'll upload it anyway. It's just like you're standing there in the crowd. So enjoy this chat with Matt and Troy.
Now look, number 47, Troy Herfoss. Now that name rings a bell. Does anybody know Australian Superbike Champion? Okay, he can go up the inside, not touch his brakes. And he was putting lengths in everybody. He's with us tonight and he uses Zwift. Put your hands together for Troy Herfoss. I thought for a guy like you, this would be the last thing that you would do, because you want to go out and challenge the elements and get around those corners quickly. What attracted you to it and why so early?
Yeah, well mate, I've been found out pretty quick. And here I realise I'm not that strong after all, I just go for the corners fast. No, I'm from Goulburn, 2 hours south, which is known for being the windiest, coldest place in Australia. And just the thing with cycling I love the most is analysing the power data, and I'd like to know what other guys are doing and what's possible, what sort of power you can hold and that kind of stuff. And yeah, when I seen Zwift come up, I can't remember, I was trying to think when I signed up, it was really early stage, I think it was called Solomon Islands or something, it's a 5k loop, and I seen you could see what other guys' power was, and anyway I sent my request to see if I could use it, and yeah, I found myself sitting on there for like 100 kilometres. 3 hours on the trainer.
Has anyone done more than 3 hours on the home trainer? Yeah. Right, the bar's over there. You need some compensation. 3 hours in one session.
Yeah, yeah. Like before that, I think it was maybe an hour 20 was the most I could get out. Before. But yeah, it's funny that Kev's here because I've always trained on my own and stuff like that. And a couple of years back I met Kev through Swiss and Benny Kirsten who was here. They got me on board to do a guest ride, and I remember talking to Kev about it on the way to the races, and then we got involved together and he started coaching me a bit, and before I started with him I had the biggest crack I've ever had on a motorbike and broke a few ribs, and it was just when the program was about to start, and I wanted to be the perfect athlete and do all my sessions, and so the first session I had was like a 3-hour endurance ride, and I sat on Zwift on this kinetic trainer, so I didn't have a smart trainer or anything, and just pedaling, and I thought, how lucky am I to have this island and people to talk to and ride with, and there's no way I would have been able to do the training, or there is, but I don't think I'm mentally strong enough to do that. But yeah, so it's funny that Zwift's helped me in a lot of ways, and it's fun socially, it's fun. Now I've moved to the Gold Coast, so I often bring friends up from Goulburn and we plan a ride or a race to do together, and yeah, it's great fun.
I can't believe you live on the Gold Coast and ride indoors. I'm from Melbourne. Now I can ride indoors.
Yeah, it's funny, I was just thinking, like while I'm on there, I think I've got some of the most amazing roads in Australia, but there's something about it, and I love analysing the data, and I love competition, and when I'm out on the training ride on my own, as you know, it's sometimes hard to push yourself, whereas on the trainer, when one of my friends come past me and I see someone who's got the KOM on the hill, it just, for some reason that works in my head, and it gets me motivated to train a bit harder. So for me it's a perfect tool, and it's something I've used for racing and training a lot, and customising my own programs and even sessions that Kev might give me or a coach might give you can put in there. It's amazing in that way.
What is the attraction for bike riding? There's so many people from motorsport. Like Alain Prost, one of the all-time greats, 3-time Formula 1 champion, used to own a bike shop in Paris with Laurent Fignon back in the 90s. And he came out last year for the World Championships in Perth, for the Masters World Championships. But there's so many stories about motorsport people who are obsessed with cycling. What's the attraction?
It's funny, I don't know exactly why. I guess for me, racing a superbike it's not so much a fitness thing. It's really tough mentally, and I feel like being out on the road or on a computer game and it's mentally tough to keep going sometimes, and I think you're training your brain in that way. It gives you time to switch off and think about other things. It's hard to point why we enjoy it. I mean, it does, for me, I'm a very tall superbike rider, and because of cycling, I'm probably 5 or 6 kilos lighter naturally, really, without thinking about it. So, yeah, for me, it keeps the weight down. I get a bit safer, competitive edge. You know, I can go racing and it's a little bit safer. Definitely on the computer, it's a lot safer. Yes, it wasn't that safe, but yeah, I think for me, I get the competitive edge out of my system and keep the weight off, and yeah, it's just fun.
I want to ask you a question about crashing. All of us, when we've had a crash on the bike, you know that moment when you know you're going to crash and time stands still? It's a split second from the moment you know you're going to fall to when you hit the deck, but it takes forever. What about when you're doing 300 kilometres per hour on a motorbike? Does things slow down?
You'd be surprised to know that when I've crashed a motorbike head or push bike, on the push bike, you just don't know what's going to happen until it's gone. There's no give in these tyres, there's no suspension. It's funny when you're pushing at 100% on a motorbike, you've got a lot of suspension, a lot more contact touch with the rubber to the ground, and so you can feel a lot of movement. And sometimes when the front end goes, your elbows touching the ground sometimes, or it's a little bit off the ground, it'll go, and you get sort of a few seconds where you can pick it up, and if you realise you can't save it, you're falling like that far. It doesn't...
It sounds really easy to fall at 300 km an hour. That's fantastic.
I've had crashes on the road at like a front end lose at 180 kilometres an hour, and you fall that far, and people would pay lots of money at Dreamworld to go and ride that fast.
You couldn't pay me enough money to do that. Do you get hot from the burn across the tarmac?
Yeah, you do it. That's why you see them lay flat. You spread the weight, and the hump in the back's for aerodynamics, and also, you know, you drive your shoulder blades into the ground and spread the weight to stop the heat from building up. But the suits are so good these days, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, my suit now has got an airbag in it, and it detects if I have a violent movement, the airbag will go off before I hit the ground. So, I mean, the technique is so safe now. You can get hurt, but it's, you know, on a track you generally slide and don't hit a wall or anything, or a curb or another car. So when I crash on the road bike, it's generally okay. The crash I had when I started with Kev, that was a bad one. 260 kilometres an hour. The gearbox failed and it spat me over the front. And,
somebody in the front just said,
yeah, and that was one of the scariest things that happened to me. I crashed, and you know, at that speed I didn't know where I was, and ended up in the airbag and was stuck under the airbag fence, and broken ribs, and yeah, that was, at the time it didn't hurt. The initial impact didn't hurt, but it scared me a lot. But yeah, it's part of the sport, and you know, there's a lot of luxuries in racing a motorbike, fortunately, so you sort of got to take a look at the bad.
what's next on the push bike?
I was saying to Kevin, I haven't seen him for a while. I'm a bit lost at the moment. I raced with Bright this year and really enjoyed it. And used that as a bit of training to do nationals. The first year I attended nationals, I failed completely, and just inexperienced, and probably underestimated how hard it would be. And anyway, this year I had a really good year, and I got to really be part of the race. But after that, I got to a point where I never really knew what it was like to peak, I guess. And, I got pretty lean, and I peaked, and I was going better than ever. And then a few weeks off the bike, and I couldn't get within 3 minutes of my 20-minute PB at my local climb, or my Zwift times and stuff like that. And anyway, since then I've just been riding, and I think I'll definitely go to Bright this year, and I want to do nationals again. I think I'm 30 years old. I'd love to be able to go to nationals and do something a real result against the pro riders. It's obviously hard, but that's my goal in cycling. So I get that time of year where I get from mid-October through to January where I can be a cyclist. So people say, "Oh, you're a motorbike guy doing cycling," but I can't lie. I'm a cyclist for that time of year.
We'll be watching you really closely. Good luck this year on the motorbikes, but we want to see you make that accomplishment on the road bike for the National Championships. Put your hands together for Troy Herfoss.